This episode of the Boss Builder podcast is brought to you by Wisdom Tree Coaching. If your organization needs coaching for your managers to get them through those hurdles and focus factors, please visit our sponsor, Wisdom Tree Coaching, to check out their options for individual coaching and group and team coaching. They also offer their really popular course, Coaching as a Discipline for Managers. For more information, check them out at wisdomtreecoaching.com, or you can call them at 304-549-4630.
Welcome to this episode of the Boss Builder Podcast, where we talk to great bosses and those who build great bosses about what it takes to be a great boss. And now, here is your host, the founder and CEO of Boss Builders, Mac Monroe.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the Boss Builder Podcast, the podcast for those of you who are new to supervision, those of you who are in the role and need help, and those of you who are thinking about one day taking on that role. For those of you listening now, if you're the boss, you know it's a stressful job. It takes a lot of time, patience, energy, and there's a very good chance that you may not have the time to take good care of yourself. Our guest today is Eric Buratty. Eric is a fitness expert. He's the author of Make America Fit Again. And what Eric's going to do is take some time to talk to us about some things that we can do as busy professionals to take care of our mind, to take care of our body, to take care of our fitness, to take care of our nutrition, things that we can do even if we don't have a whole lot of time in the day to do it. He'll build the case that you'll be more effective as the boss if you are in some kind of shape, both nutritionally and with your muscles and your endurance. So without further delay, let's chat with our guest, Eric Buratty. Eric Buratty, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mac.
Hey, you just finished writing a book. The book is called Make America Fit Again, and I'm going to ask you some questions in our time together about that book. But I want to start with a little bit about you, a little bit about your background, and maybe why and how you became interested in fitness and health.
Yeah, sure. So basically, my youth background in athletics is kind of where it all started. I played basketball, baseball, soccer, football, and most of my time later on was spent towards like cross-country running, a little bit of track and field training, and then for recreation I did things like tennis and ping pong and swimming in the pool. So basically a little bit of everything. But no matter what level I played these sports at, whether it was elementary school, middle school, high school, I just always noticed that my coaches put a ton of emphasis on the healthy eating and physical conditioning aspects of the sport, because I kind of noticed that, the greater attention that we paid towards these aspects, the better our performance was when we went out on the field. And this simply became the foundation for whatever activity I was focused on. And then I kind of took these things more seriously than my peers over the years. And then basically my first real exposure to weight training was in middle school. And that was when I was more involved in the basketball and the endurance running. And then my motivation to continue back then was just kind of purely out of the aesthetic based, body composition, right? So I just wanted to look good. I kind of looked up to, like Vin Diesel, Will Smith, Gerard Butler, in the movie 300. A lot of these guys had phenomenal musculature, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to look something like that. I knew it wasn't realistic for me to say, all right, I'm going to look exactly like that. I know that's kind of like something that people do these days, but I knew that I wanted to at least do something that, allowed me to feel that presence of just that powerful presence, and focusing on the muscles that would let me do that. So, I just stayed the course and doing the weight training. I made progress in strength, lean body mass, of course, and then over the years, I guess my fascination for improving the physiological and the psychological health kind of evolved more from a slow twitch mindset, so from just running all the time, to more of a fast twitch lifestyle. And what I mean by that is, I kind of looked for clues in like the pro level sports and the Olympic level sports with weightlifting and gymnastics and track and field and stuff. These are sports that, required a lot of the fast twitch muscle fibers, like the really high intense movements that pulled nutrients into muscle cells, so I just started, balancing the frequency, intensity, and the volume of my training better based on those clues that I noticed. And then I just, I started to notice that a lot of this stuff was exciting my body more, and I didn't even have to do as much volume anymore. It was kind of just, I was doing little bits here and there and kind of splitting up the volume, if you will. And when I was doing this, it just made me more excited to do it more and more. And I was able to kind of make it a lifestyle out of that. So I could just kind of give myself that reality check with, micro and macro injuries, and then, prevent them from turning into something more crazy. So yeah, I guess it's just my large appreciation for the fast twitch aspects of sports over the years. And that's just like the hinge position, the power movements and stuff, and then safe progressions, or I like to call it advanced regressions. I like to use this for a lot of the people I work with, because let's be honest, nobody likes to feel like they're, downgrading whatever they're doing, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's kind of the summary about it.
Well, that was your kind of like your background. Was that really what pushed you, or was there some sort of transformative experience that pushed you in there? I mean, you've given us a foundation, but I mean, was there some just key thing? Because obviously that's going to lead you to where you are now, and that's what I want to talk about. Is
it's funny you bring that up, because like one of the guys that I had reviewed this book, they said this book is really, really good stuff. But if I had to have like one critique about it, one constructive criticism, it would be that I wished you would have put more, had more of a background story of yourself about it. And this is something, we all have our things that we're working on improving of ourselves over the years. And one of which, hopefully with my next book release or whatever, I'm going to focus on telling the story a little bit more. But to answer your question here in this interview, basically, I did used to be more on the chubbier side up until like through the 6th grade. And, I'll tell you, I used to be one of those guys. I had a lot of, after school snacks, like the little Debbie brand, like the donut holes, the ho-hos. I used to eat like sugar-coated cereals, basically, pudding, all that stuff after school let out, peanut butter and jelly and stuff. And then, I was lucky at the time, because I kind of took a little bit more special interest in the cause of this, what I would consider unnecessary weight gain at such a young age, which is kind of seems like more people need to be doing now, especially the parents and the teachers and coaches and stuff. Anyways, and according to my pediatric physician at this time, I was overweight by almost 15 pounds. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, in the grand scheme of things, especially for some people out there who are maybe 50 to 100 pounds overweight these days. But it was enough for me to kind of just notice that I was becoming sloppy. And even though it's like it didn't line up with what they use in the medical industry, the body mass index chart, to measure, your relationship to height and your weight and what's healthy so I just started to remove those empty calorie snacks and replace them with larger, more balanced meals. And then just kind of like everything else fell into place. I just had more energy for, staying active, and my body fat was lower. And then, of course, this led to more attention from girls. I mean, for boys, in K through 12, who doesn't like more attention from girls? And I mean, even when you're older, of course. But yeah, so I just started to take more interest in how I was eating, and my idea of what became like a balanced meal just sort of changed just from that, that initial phase of, it was kind of like we all go through those like phases of depression, like in the colder seasons and the winter months when we have, the seasonal depression disorder and stuff like that. And this of course affected me a little bit more than others too, because I have a history of anxiety, which is not something that not a lot of people know about, but that's also something that I've used to fuel my training. Actually, is splitting up. It's honestly everything that I preach now just comes down to splitting up your volume a little bit more on the training side, and then with the eating side, just eating when you can. And it's not like the quantity of calories you're eating, it's the quality of those calories. So it's like, it's what you're eating. Everybody wants to know, do I eat this, not that? It's not about that. It's just like what you're eating. And it's not about the timing that you're eating. It's like you can be eating at like 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It doesn't matter. People think you're going to gain weight if you're eating that late. That's simply not the truth. It all is about what you're eating. It's the quality of the foods that you're eating. So yeah, I just started to balance everything, make everything a little bit more flexible according to my schedule. And I think that's going to carry over into a lot of what you're going to bring up here.
Yeah, absolutely will. I think it's impressive that as a young person, you would actually see that and do it, and actually make the choice to change your life that way. Well, putting out a book means you put yourself out there where people can see you, and it can sometimes be intimidating. So what made you want to write this book? And by the way, I've read the book, and what I love about it is practical, plus there's a lot of pictures in there. But
yeah,
Eric, what made you write the book?
I wanted to write the book, we all go through this, like, as an artist, not just as a coach. Like, I've been told by a few people now that I have this artistic and physical presence. And I guess it's obvious the physical presence side of things as a coach and building the credibility and so forth. I wanted to put something behind my name that I felt, extremely proud about, but in a way that made me more humble and modest towards my training approach, something that made me want to learn more from people that I've been working with and will work with in the future, of course. So the book was just kind of I see it as another stepping stone to further, make the profession, make this career, and show people that I'm truly invested and their best interest, and I'm not just in it for the money. And yes, the money's good. It helps, make a living and so forth. But I think that a lot of the people will see when they read this book, or when they have, work with me in person, which is another reason for writing the book, is to try to get more business, of course. It's just that it's not about the money as much as just kind of helping them get more out of their training, out of their lifestyle, out of their habits and so forth, and just trying to learn more about their bodies and so forth. So yeah, I just wrote the book because I wanted to, just wanted to take the career to another level, and in a way that made others feel that I was more engaged to them.
Great. Well, let's talk about you a little bit. We've talked a little bit about your interests in all this, but do you have sort of a mission statement that you operate by?
Let's see. My mission statement. I would say my mission statement, I guess, just to lead by example. Like, I've helped out at some basketball camps and some summer programs and so forth in my area locally. And I think it's important, just my mission statement and just in general for everybody, like, it's our duty as an older generation to lead by example, to show people of all ages how they can prevent health problems. And that trickles down to, the kids, right? So I see it on Facebook posts all the time, like from parents and teachers and stuff. It's like kids are always watching you. It's like, even though they don't always have the same They don't always express it the same way adults do. They take notice to the things that we do, and if we're not doing that, if we're not showing them as the parents and teachers, it's going to be it's going to prove to be a difficult time, a challenge for a lot of the youth. And the social media and stuff is great, but I think it's a lot of it is just a distraction from what we're truly meant to do, and just continue leading by example, just teaching others how to apply this quality over quantity cliche, rather. That's it's in a style that's most consistent with whatever dietary or physical activity preferences people have, whether it's sports, dancing, playing an instrument, doing the exercise stuff like me. It all can work. And that's kind of piggybacking on the answer to my last question. It's just showing people there are many roads to accomplishing the same goal. You just got to use the tools that you have in front of you, and you do that by leading by example, and hopefully have some fun along the way, because if it's not fun, you're not going to do it, right?
That's very true. Well, the audience that listens to this and that's listening to this podcast right now, in fact, I'm guessing there's a lot of you who are listening who are either at your desk with food in your hand, or you're commuting a long commute to work. My audience is a typically very stressed audience. They are in charge of, like I talk about, fixing systems and processes, protecting the house, developing others. And so if they want to lead by example, it's for them really, really difficult. They're busy. So I was wondering if you could sort of characterize the dietary approach you would promote for people in that category and why they should do this. Because the temptation is I walk into work.
That's very common, actually. It's, what do you do when you're faced with that dilemma, right? So it's a lot of what's becoming very popular now. Two really big ones I see are the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. And both of those are great stepping stones. They're great ways to get into the habit of eating healthy, but I don't particularly see them as lifestyle strategies for a lot of busy professionals that are healthy. That being said, drawing from more of the intermittent fasting protocol, I would say this would be very, very beneficial for the people listening to this podcast and people who consider themselves, on the go all day, really, just because the intermittent fasting is a way of teaching people to, give yourself a specific time period that you're eating, the majority of your calories, and then the rest of the day it's like you're grazing, but not really on food. It's just mainly like water and tea and so forth, and that'll come up in a later suggestion. I think one of the other questions about getting more energy out of your day. But yeah, there's no best diet approach that I promote, but I think the intermittent fasting protocol and just basically eating a larger meal and the first half of the day, so right before you leave from work, or eating your largest meal in dinner time, it all depends on what you want to do. It's not like I've said earlier, there's no one best way. So for busy professionals, I encourage them to eat, like a solid 500 to 800 calorie meal before they leave from work. And then throughout the rest of the day, just drinking lots of water. They'll be surprised, what kind of energy they'll have, throughout the day, and how long that energy lasts them, that they don't need to be like, so you brought up the idea of donuts, or, sometimes there's pizza or some sandwiches catered in from work. And how do you, some people want to, have those cravings, or they're bored or something, so they want to give into that. And by eating the larger meal in the first half of the day, that'll help them, just kind of say no to that. It's psychologically, they know that it's not necessary. And then number two, physically, like how they feel, their stomach's just full anyway. It's like, man, I just already ate all that. And to give you an idea of what 5 500 to 800 calories consists of. If you were to take like a tub of yogurt, and everybody knows that I eat a lot of yogurt around this area, a tub of yogurt, like whole milk, the extra fat content, it's extra calories, but it's quality nutrition. It's providing you a full electrolyte source with the yogurt. It's giving you a nice dose of fats, and some of which are going to draw from CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, which is a fat-burning fat. There is research supporting, lean body composition from eating that and reduced chances of cancer and so forth. And then, of course, you have calcium and vitamin D, which are coenzymes for keeping the metabolism going and healthy bones and stuff. And that's just from yogurt. And, if you don't want to eat a whole tub of yogurt, you can always eat a half of a tub, which is basically like 2 cups in our conversion in America. And you can have like a handful of nuts if you're not allergic to nuts. Nuts, I would say, this is actually, giving you a future idea of what I'm going to do is the top 3 healthy foods. I would put nuts in that top 3 category. They're easily one of the healthiest foods out there. And there's not just which nut. I would say it's good to have a variety of nuts. And same thing applies to vegetables when you're eating later in the day, which brings me to my next thing is, when you get back home from work, if you want, you can have your snack or something. Or if you're somebody who exercises, fits in that workout window after you get home from work, you can have yourself like a little pre or post workout snack, an apple or something, or a little protein shake if you want to do that, a protein bar, a fruit and nut bar. Things like this are great. Still don't keep it too heavy. Wait to eat the second bigger meal towards the end of the day, and that's just loading up on tons of veggies. These can be raw, these can be cooked. Personally, I like cooked veggies nowadays because I ate a ton of salad in college. I mean a ton. And yeah, it's just I don't know, does that help you answer your question?
Yeah, so it sounds like I would get up, I would have a pretty good breakfast, up to about 800 calories, and then that's it for the eating. Throughout the day, I'm going to be drinking water and tea, and then when I get home, have that
and of course
meal,
the protein in that meal. But I figured that's just an assumption that most people eat protein with that meal. And we have vegans and vegetarians out there who may draw protein from what I consider to be carbohydrate containing sources like beans and seeds and stuff like that. Well, seeds are fats, but you get the idea. Like beans are predominantly carbohydrates. But yeah, you have the right idea. It's just,
well, that's just what I'm thinking, because a person who's the boss isn't going to have time typically to sit down and eat, and if they do, it's going to be junk. So basically, what we're saying is, don't worry about it. If you need a snack, a handful of nuts would do the job.
Yes,
and you
definitely.
Said that you're going to have energy level, which I'm sure appeals.
It sounds like a lot of food, podcast. A lot of calories in the beginning of the day, but let me tell you, the 800 calories from that meal will not make you feel as groggy as 800 calories from donuts, or 800 calories from stopping at your Burger King or McDonald's and getting one of those breakfast sandwiches. Or actually, I guess it'd be like 2 or 3 of those. Just to reach the same number of calories, and it all goes back to the quality over quantity. So the number of calories isn't so much as important as what you're eating.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, then let's take the next piece of this. And so when you get Eric's book, you're going to see that the guy's pretty fit. He's pretty lean. He's pretty ripped. However, you look at pictures of me and you see a middle-aged fat guy. So obviously not a guy who goes to the gym a lot. But what type of considerations would you have for somebody who listens to this that wants to build strength? And if they build strength, would that translate into higher productivity at work, realizing they probably don't have a long schedule?
Building strength is one of the foremost important parts of my training philosophy. And when it comes to translating to higher productivity at work, there's just something about doing things at a higher intensity level. And that's if I had to sum up a lot of these answers to this interview, it's just about breaking things up, the volume, in a way that allows you to put higher intensity towards whatever you're doing, whether it's in the gym or you're doing something at work. If you're breaking things up, you're taking breaks and in intervals, right, in a way that allows you to be more productive and doing as much work as you can without exceeding your recovery rate. So as far as specific training parameters are concerned, there are a couple options. You have linear adaptations and you have auto-regulated adaptations for making progress in the gym, and this follows at work too. In the case of linear adaptations, the athlete or the employee, must keep the intensity and volume higher while reducing the training frequency for, making the sustainable progress. To translate that into, your terms, basically you're staying productive at work, but you're basically doing this is basically 3 to 5 days a week, and you're gradually increasing the intensity, how much you're doing. That would be the volume actually, and then how well you're doing it, the intensity, which of course will be following the linear adaptation. In the case of the auto-regulated stuff, that would just be kind of consider this more of somebody who works a flexible work schedule, somebody that maybe works from home some days of the week or all days of the week, or they have, what is it called? Mac, help me out here. When somebody can just work wherever they want, whenever they want. That would fall under the category of the auto-regulated, process for strength training, right?
Yeah.
So you just, in either case, right? So you have your two examples there. You have linear and you have auto-regulation. Either case, you just kind of got to ride the wave, and that's kind of the theme of it all. Is whatever way you choose, you just got to stick to it, and consistency is one of the huge, most important things about fitness and life and work in general. It's just whatever you're doing, it's you can't draw any firm conclusions about what you're doing, and if it's effective if you're not sticking to it consistently. And so your next question will probably be, well, Eric, what's your definition of consistency? And I do talk about this in my book quite a bit, but basically, you have this 6 to 8 week cycle. You'll cycle your training in 6 to 8 weeks, basically, and you'll base this around the moon phases, actually, and then, of course, the seasons throughout the year. But from a work standpoint and riding the wave, it's just you're giving yourself a window of time, 3 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks or so, that you can kind of do something with whatever you're doing, whether you're focused on the next big project at work, or you're doing something at home that facilitates further productivity at work, and you're balancing your family life too. It's you're reflecting after that time period and just seeing, what worked, what didn't, and always kind of continually just asking yourself, well, how's this working for me? Because if it's not working for me, you need to change it. It sounds ultra conservative, but if you keep that in mind and you just say, well, if something is working, don't change it, basically, right? People always ask about having, introducing a lot of variety into your life. And that's something that I've just noticed, a lot of the most successful people in the work, in the office, they don't have a lot of variety to their schedules. They're pretty consistent. And the catch-22 is, to that, it doesn't promote a lot of happiness, because happiness is, the key to that is including a lot of variety and stuff. So again, it's just balancing these two things and riding that wave. And that goes back to helping you learn how to build strength too in the gym. I mean, whether that's, you have your 6 essential human movements. You have your hinge, AKA deadlifts. You have your squats. You have, walking, running. You have pushing and pulling. And you have carrying things around. Those are your 6 things. Carrying things around, also known as farmer's walks. very, very close to, like, say, carrying your groceries or carrying your baby, or, anything where you're carrying something. That's kind of what doing that. So, you can progress linearly, or you can auto-regulate your training. If you're progressing linearly, I encourage you to reflect on a period of 6 to 8 weeks. If you're following more just like an auto-regulated schedule, you're kind of going like as a virtual worker, I encourage you to reflect on your work productivity in a shorter window, like three weeks, or even more on a micro level. So on a day-to-day basis, like, what are you doing? And ask yourself continually, how is this working for me?
Well, Eric, this is really helpful. And I know your book goes through routines. And so maybe as we wind down, how can one of my listeners get a hold of the book, and how can they contact you for help?
Sure thing. Yeah, just you're going to visit my website that I set up for this book. It's mafaofficial.com, MAFA official.com. And there's a nice little trailer that I put together, all filmed in DC. Filmed it by myself. And right underneath of that trailer, there's a huge, you can't miss it, a large picture of the book. You can click on that. There are also 2 icons below it. There's an Amazon symbol, and there's a Kindle symbol, also Amazon, because I published it through Amazon. You can click on any of that stuff, and that'll redirect you to the page on Amazon where you'll get it. And it is eligible for 2-day free shipping for Prime members. And if you don't have a Prime Amazon account, you can still get it shipped to you within a week. I've heard some other people tell me that they've had it shipped in like 3 to 5 days that don't have Prime. And then, of course, if you catch up with me in person, you can get one from me. Just let me know. And if you want to contact me directly, feel free to call me or email me. My number is 240-432-7174. And then my email is eburatty@gmail.com. So I look forward to hearing from you.
That's great. Well, Eric, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. And I'm encouraging everybody who's listening, get out there, get a copy of that book. It's a great book. And if you're real serious, talk to Eric. I have met him. He is definitely the real deal. Eric, thanks for being on my show.
Thank you, Mac. You're the man.
Well, thanks again to our special guest, Eric Buratty. Again, you know how to contact him, get his book, and if you are even in the local area, that is kind of Maryland and DC area, you can certainly book yourself a time to work out with Eric. Here at Boss Builders, we are all about helping you do your job to the best of your ability. And to that end, we have really now 3 opportunities for you. The first of all is the Boss Builder Academy, the video series that many of our customers have been using. We also can provide on-site workshops for you. We can bring our trainers to your facility and teach our materials. And lastly, we just put this together. You are now able to purchase our materials so that your trainers can go ahead and train up your management staff. For more information, just visit us on the web at thebossbuilders.com, or you can call us at 931-221-2988. Thanks again for tuning in today and for hearing my guest, Eric Buratty. Until the next time we meet, get out there, boss up, and boss on. Goodbye.
You've been listening to another episode of the Boss Builder Podcast with Mac Monroe. To get more information on being a great boss, visit us online at thebossbuilders.com or at Mac's blog, macmonroe.com. Until next time, get out there and be a great boss.